Hi, everybody. This is Misti Dragano, Vice President at Moore with the Communications Division. I have my colleagues, Amber Aragon and Elle Dietrich with me, and welcome to our Brown Bag Lunch series. Today, we are going to talk about the power of influencer marketing. It's been, it's gone from 0 to 100 in a couple years, and it's been an integral part of every brand's marketing strategy, from you name it, on the commercial side. And really, we have been really seeing some great opportunities of how to leverage the power of influencer marketing for the nonprofit sector and for other purpose-driven companies. So just a couple housekeeping rules. We'll save some time for detailed questions at the end, but if you've got something burning as we're going through, just raise your hand or pop it into the Q&A, and we'll try to monitor those as we go along. But I'll go ahead and get us started. So the power of influencer marketing. So it is a $24 billion industry. So let's just kind of step back and realize how big that number is. What we're talking about is commercial brands and nonprofit brands and associations leveraging the power of content creators, those people who spend their time and have built a business creating content on social platforms. Influencer marketing is tapping into that loyalty and that authenticity that they have built with their audiences and leveraging it to drive your mission, to drive your brand. There's a bunch of different slides or statistics on here that really talk about the power of leveraging influencers or content creators, as they now are being called, and what that does for a business. The one thing I really want to point out is this number here in the middle. 84% of marketers who have worked with content creators feel that that strategy and that channel has driven and does drive a better quality of customer than any other marketing types and other channels out there. And why? It's because what you're doing is you're tapping into that authenticity and that trust that individuals have, that those content creators have built with their audiences. Let's be honest. We all scroll through Instagram. We all look at our reels. We all look at TikTok. There are people that we follow because we like what they say. We like the content that they create. And we have this personal connection that we've built with them. And so when they ask us to try the latest lipstick or to try the latest exercise or to buy the latest whatever product or to give to their favorite nonprofit organization, we listen to them, we trust them, and we mimic their behavior. And that's what you're tapping into when you build out influencer marketing campaigns. A lot of other stats out there that I'll talk to you that you'll see that really show that this is a growing piece of every integrated marketing strategy. I think some of the stats I've seen, anywhere from 60 to 70% of the marketers say that they are significantly increasing the amount of money that they put into this influencer marketing channel. And so what do you do with that channel, and what does that channel create, and how does that support your overall mission and your marketing needs? There's a lot of different ways in which the purpose-driven sector can leverage influencer marketing to solve some of your problems and solve some of your challenges. One, and I think everybody kind of thinks of this first, which is it is an excellent opportunity to reach and engage a new younger audience. Let's be honest, in the nonprofit sector, we tend to see our audiences from a fundraising and a donor perspective as that 55-plus-year-old audience. But we all know that there's an important part of our mission is to building awareness and engagement with younger audiences. We hear that from our clients all the time. And influencer marketing and tapping into these channels can be a great way to do that. It's which also not only builds that engagement, but also can drive that prospective donor leads. But we also see it being used for programmatic and mission-driven work. So to find those individuals that you are serving. So consider yourself, think about the organizations that are trying to educate the public about different health issues. What a great way to tap into influencers and create in this channel to find those individuals so that you can share your resources and share your information. Volunteers, advocates are other audiences that you can reach through social influencer marketing. And more importantly, your corporate partners. We've seen a couple of our campaigns have centered around how to activate a corporate partnership. I mean, corporate partners are looking at their nonprofit partnerships, one, because they want to do good in the world and to give back, but also they're seeing this as an opportunity to extend their brand and their mission. So there's opportunities to do that and to even drive attendance to events. So you think about it, there's really any kind of audience engagement that you are trying to advance, there's an opportunity to leverage influencer marketing to do so. So I'm going to toss this over to Amber, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about how you can leverage influencer marketing to elevate your overall success and some of the tips and keys to success that we've seen in building out these campaigns.
Great, thanks, Misty. So here are some key items that will elevate your campaign for success. Choosing the right influencers is key. Partnering with passionate creators who share your same values and mission allows for authentic storytelling. We recommend targeting creators who craft their unique spaces within a specific niche. So for example, if your mission is focused on saving animals, then we recommend the brand to focus in on pet influencers and animal lovers who can showcase your mission. This specific niche already has a built-in audience and influence. Next, having a strong and clear call to action. A call to action can make or break your campaign in terms of engagement. Keep in mind, this new audience may be learning about your brand for the first time. You need a strong CTA that will catch their attention and get them to take action with a simple next step to capture leads. Along with the CTA, we recommend providing creators with key talking points to guide them to speak about your brand leading up to the CTA. So for example, we have found success with a CTA that has a free item attached to it, such as learn more and sign up to get a free resource guide, or an action item such as signing a petition to make an impact. And next is multi-channel impact. So to further reach and engagement with audiences, we recommend repurposing the creator content across channels within your digital strategy, such as resharing on your social media platforms, making a compilation video. So you'll take the influencer content, splice it together, and make a compilation to then be shared out to your channels. You can use it within email campaigns, on your website, in targeted paid ads to amplify the impact. During contracting, we negotiate additional usage rights for the brand to be able to use the content across these channels. Another way to elevate your campaign is through user-generated content, also known as UGC, which Elle will go into on the next slide.
Thanks. Yes, as Amber said, user-generated content, as we all call UGC, it is typically a video that is either created by a customer, donor, or hired content creator that can then be repurposed by the brand for a variety of uses. So in this case, let's focus on hired content creators. So instead of the brand creating the ad, they are working directly with the content creator who will then create the piece of content. The style is typically a little bit more organic looking and what you would see if you were scrolling through your newsfeed. So instead of the creator making content for their own social channels, they are making the content specifically for the brand's use. And then this can be used in multiple ways. It can be used in a paid media campaign. It can be included on the brand's website. It can be posted on the brand's own social channels. And then since the creator is producing the content for the brand's purpose, the brand isn't paying for the distribution. So the brand has a lot more creative control and it becomes a lot more cost effective. And then a few additional advantages of UGC is it's a great form with intended audience through authentic storytelling and building trust, and also the ability to choose the style of ad as you're able to pick which content creators you want to work with ahead of time, and you can kind of peruse their channels to see what kind of style you're looking for.
So I'm just going to pipe in here for all you digital marketing folks on the call. This is a really interesting opportunity and a great way to create more content for you then to run your paid media campaigns. So just kind of think about it. It just is going to come across more authentic if you have an individual who's really kind of talking authentically about your organization and kind of giving those call to actions versus a more typical paid advertisement that you or the brand may create internally. So I highly recommend any kind of targeted paid media plans that you have. Step back and look at how you could weave in some user-generated content in part of that paid strategy. right. Now, where are we going next, Elle?
We are going to debunk some common influencer marketing myths.
All right, let's go to the first one. Well, maybe not. There we go.
So myth number one, bigger follower accounts lead to better results. Although creators with big followings can be very beneficial for mass brand awareness, think of like an entertainment brand promoting a summer blockbuster, they aren't typically the best solution when we want to reach and engage with a specific or tailored audience. This ties directly to what Amber had mentioned earlier about niche creators. So they tend to have higher engagement because they have they're able to interact a lot more with their audience. And then you're also able to choose creators with specific audiences that align directly with your goal or mission.
Yeah, and this one from our perspective, you know, when we are doing campaigns for our clients, we really find that micro nano influencer, which is really under 100,000 followers, to be the best because you get that higher engagement. So, you know, I always say, instead of having somebody with 1 million followers, I'd rather have 10 people that have 100,000 followers each, because you're going to pay less and get more from it. All right, the second myth.
Creators pose a risk to your brand. So as influencer marketing continues to evolve, so do the tools and regulations that are put into place to make sure you're working with the right creators. And so before you want to work with any influencers, you'll want to vet them and have an agreement put into place. So vetting can entail social presence, looking through their social presence manually, or being put through an automated system. And then within the agreement that you'll have with the influencer, you want to make sure you have all your deliverables laid out, your timeline. And then if you're working with GIVEfluential, we also include in our agreement a clause that prohibits disparagement towards the brand. And then once you're working with the creator, you're also able to tailor your brand guidelines specifically to the values in your overall mission. And then just a little stat, in a recent study of over 3,000 marketing professionals, close to 70% of them do not find brand safety within influencer marketing a large concern.
Yeah, and this is, I think, the thing that most of our clients, Elle and Amber, would you agree, kind of is the thing. If you're first getting into influencer marketing, I think it's the thing that causes a little bit of nervousness in how you approach it, because you really are kind of stepping back a little bit and giving away a little bit of the control over what the creative is going to look like. But like I said, Elle really kind of talked about, when we're doing our campaigns with our clients, we really try to box them in. We really make sure that they're vetted up front. And that takes a lot of time and energy. But then we contract them and we have these moral clauses on the back. So, you know, I think you can feel comfortable going in, following the right process, that your brand is going to be very well protected. And bottom line, nothing gets posted unless you approve it. All right, Elle, what's the third myth we got that we're going to bust?
The third myth is big budgets are required to make an impact. So first, let's just start with two elements of the budget for your influencer marketing campaign. There's the one bucket is going to be the time and resources that are putting together a campaign. And then the other bucket is going to be the fees that you're paying for the influencers. So the fees to influencers is very scalable. But as we've already touched on, a strong call to action, choosing the right creators in it, and then also we highly encourage engagement from the brand are keys to a successful campaign.
So I'm going to just pause before we go into some of the trends and kind of things that we're keeping an eye on. Are there, I can't see the chat right now because I'm sharing my presentation, but any questions? Anybody have a question they want to kind of pop in the chat, or go ahead and ask? No, it's a quiet bunch. All right, then we will go ahead. Amber, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about some trends that we're keeping an eye on.
Perfect. Thanks, Misty. So the first one is no surprise. AI is a hot topic right now. So within influencer marketing, you can use the power of AI for data-driven success through audience analysis, segmentation, and creator identification. Some creator and brands are already starting to use AI tools to aid their content creation, and these AI features are already available within platforms such as Instagram and TikTok. Next, brand ambassadors. So brand ambassadors are becoming more popular to use for ongoing partnerships versus one-off creator campaigns. Your brand is able to build long-term relationships with the creators for authenticity, community building, audience alignment, and even having these creators attend in-person events such as fundraisers. Next is short form storytelling. So short form storytelling is going to rise in popularity with short form videos. So short form videos typically are 15 seconds or less, with the goal to captivate your audience within seconds, delivering powerful messages that resonate. Next is interactive tools. So social media platforms continue to evolve and create new features to allow the audience to interact with content in multiple ways, such as polls or Q&As, quizzes. So some cool new features that have rolled out within Instagram recently include using polls within your caption. So you'll have the influencer asking their audience a question and they are able to go and vote. And so you'll just look down into the caption, you'll see the question, and then you're able to interactively tap yes or no. Another cool feature is questions. So you're able to be talking to your audience in the video, and then a question will pop up and you're able to interactively engage by tapping on the reel itself. And then last but not least is live streaming. So creators are using live stream within their community for real-time interaction by going live on their channel. So live streaming has been around for a while, but we are seeing it being used more often to foster authenticity and to have that immediate action with your brand. So that is what I have for the trends to watch for. And then now we are going to open up for any questions that we have discussed today.
All right, I have one that came in. They were asking a little bit about how you can leverage influencers and content creators for local events. So Amber, do you want to talk a little bit about how we did that with our client, one of our clients, Covenant House?
Yes. So we really targeted, influencers that were local within where the event was taking place. And so they had a 2-part series where they actually were a part of the campaign. And then they also wanted to participate in an event for Covenant House for a sleep out event. So it was really unique that they were able to go to this event, create content, and then use that content to then take one of their deliverables was to create a reel of a recap of their experience of going to this sleep out event for youth homelessness. So it was very interactive to not only have them be a part of the campaign, but to have them also be on site representing the brand.
All right, any questions that are out there? Any other questions? Elle, I see one coming in that talks a little bit about kind of give some additional examples of what's a strong, successful call to action. Are we asking people to give right away? Are we asking them to kind of get involved, kind of give them some good, strong examples of that?
Sure. So we always position influencer marketing being very brand awareness, top of funnel. Just think this is the first time that your audience is really probably might be even knowing about your brand, your nonprofit. So you don't want to have, you want to have a very clear and one question or one statement and direction for them to do, whether it be, if you want to learn more about what you just saw, visit our website. If you, as Amber had mentioned, download a guide. So those are some examples of call to actions.
And we've had some clients that, one of the clients that we had a really successful campaign with was Paralyzed Veterans of America. And we've kind of shared this case study publicly at a couple of different past forums, but their call to action was advocacy. It was, they hired influencers that spoke about disability rights because that was their core message. And the call to action was simply click and sign the petition. Again, for the digital marketers to think about, well, okay, what were the KPIs? What were the results of that? So out of the leads that we generated, which basically required somebody to leave a social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, go over to a website, sign a petition, and go back, we had 50% conversion for those leads that came over to the landing page that actually went through and signed the petition. significantly higher than, any other conversion rates they've ever seen from a pure acquisition channel. And then subsequently, some of the other KPIs that kind of followed that really showed the value of investing in this very hyper targeted channel. Their welcome series that they had for those new leads, they had higher than average open and click-through rates on the 3-part welcome series. So what that demonstrated to them was by choosing the right influencers with the right audience and having the right message for that tailored audience, you can really drive pretty significant results. And those, like I said, were better than any other kind of acquisition channels that they had. I have a couple questions here in the chat. One is about how do you recommend starting to look for influencers within the topic you're working on? Do you search social media or do that? And what are some of those other ways? So I will toss it to either Amber, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the tools and strategies that you take when you're trying to find some of the right influencers for your campaign, and then Elle, you can add to it.
Okay. Yeah. So we do it's quite a process with the sourcing and vetting. So I use a wide range of tools. We have our platform, but primarily I'm actually diving into Instagram and TikTok, and I'm searching hashtags. I'm searching suggested creators. I'm searching, multiple different things within the creator's profile. So it's very, very intense, but it really comes down to keywords that really relate to your guys' mission, what you guys are looking for, locations, and then, you start to dive into the different creators, and it's really quite the process as far as when you're diving into the profile itself, going over all the content and making sure that it meets the brand standards.
Yeah, and just to add to that, something else that we'll do is sometimes if we find the perfect creator, they hit all the boxes, they have the right age demographic, audience, like everything. We will then look through who they're following, and then it's almost a way to kind of go down the trail to see, and then, or even a brand that say, for example, the Nature Conservancy, we know that obviously they're following a lot of climate creators. So if we're working for a campaign for climate creators, that's a place to start for looking for places. So there's a lot of different things involved, but, and then when we find people on social media, we'll then always put them through our own platform, which then will pull all of their stats.
Yep. Great. So there's a great question here from Christine. Says, do you use your influencers do you include your influencers in some way through your welcome series to continue the connection? Christine, that's a great idea. What we have typically done, I'm going to say probably not. Most of our clients have not included the influencers in their ongoing communications as a prospective donor or prospective supporter, but we do keep that relationship and that dialogue with the influencers through different communications channels.
And I will add to that we have had clients actually put the influencer content within their e-newsletter. So as the campaign is kicking off, you're able to just, pop some of the content into an e-newsletter and send it out to audiences.
Great. I have another question here that says, how many followers should somebody have to be considered an influencer? So that's a great question. I'm going to say, everybody can be a content creator, but not every content creator can be an influencer. It really is less about the actual numbers of people that are following them and more about the engagement and the kind of honing in on their content. We have worked with some influencers that were clearly just getting started. Couple thousand followers, but they had the right message, and we, through our vetting process and through our analysis of their account and their followings and their engagement, felt that they would be a great influencer for a particular campaign. And we knew that they would, because they had that engagement and the audience, that niche audience that we were looking for. So it can be from a couple thousand up to multi-million followers, but it's really when we look at somebody as an influencer, we look at what's their audience, what's their content, is that aligned with the brand that we're looking for? What is their engagement rates? Are other brands working with them? And if so, how successful are they being? Okay. All right, we got another question that says, can you discuss the costs associated with hiring the influencers? I'm going to go ahead and take that one. So it really can range. We've done campaigns that are, under $50,000. We've done campaigns that were over $150,000. When you look at the budgets, there really are two components to it. One, there are the fees that you pay the content creators to produce that content and distribute it on their channels. And that's the piece that can be very flexible. The more you put behind it, the more influencers you're hiring, the less you have, you're being a lot more focused and targeted and probably honing in on a lot of the smaller influencers. And then there's the agency fees or the cost and time and effort to actually design, implement, execute the campaign, do all the vetting, do all the contracting. And when we engage with clients, we have an agency fee that covers that soup to nuts for you. I do not want to underestimate the time and resources that can be required to do that. So for those of you as an organization who are looking to kind of do that on your own, I think there's a lot of work that does go behind that. So just kind of know that those are kind of the two different pieces and the costs of it. And I think there's another one that's kind of asking about the fees for each of the content creators. And again, that ranges. I'm going to let Elle kind of talk just high level about the things that she uses to determine what's the right fee to pay an influencer.
Sure. So unfortunately, there isn't like a universal rate card that applies to influencers, which would be nice. But there are some factors that we definitely include. We use the following size of them kind of as like the starting point for a range of what it would cost. But then what we really find valuable is engagement. How well are they good at storytelling? And then how are they posting consistently? And then also just like their overall content quality, does it fit right with your brand?
I see a question that says, can you discuss the cost associated with hiring the influencers? So I think we talked a little bit about the numbers behind that. If there's any other questions just kind of related to that, just ping me again and I'll make sure we cover it. All right. Any other questions that are kind of coming up? Hold on a second, I'm just reading this. So, the question is, I think what this question is getting at is there a concern with or an impact with purpose-driven organizations kind of hiring and paying off an influencer to do their work for them? And I get where you're going with this, and I think this is the way to look at this. These are individuals whose job, their job is to they've created a business. They are talented individuals who create content. And there is no shame or concern with paying them for the work that they're doing. I will say, when this industry got started, there was a lot of giveaways to influencers to kind of get that kind of exposure by brands. But really, there's been a backlash by not paying influencers to do their jobs. So, any organization that is looking to get into this, I would say there are millions of talented individuals out there, some of the most creative people I've ever seen. They have a skill set, they have honed their craft, they have audiences that are super important to you, and the price you pay for that creativity, that content development, and access to their audiences. Think of it as if you were creating a TV commercial and then paying ABC to run that commercial on their network. It's the same thing. It's just a different venue and a different channel. So, we haven't had any concerns or any backlash or any pushback from anyone around that. How much is the minimum you could budget if you wanted to execute a campaign that is impactful? I think I talked a little bit about this. When we're working with clients in the nonprofit space, the minimum we would want to have to be impactful is, I'd say $60,000 to $75,000 is enough to get the right mix of influencers, to allow the right level of resources to define and execute the campaign impactfully, and also to make sure that the back end and the follow-up is there. You want to make sure that you have the right landing page for these influencers to go to. You want to make sure that you have the time invested to build out the right kind of journey and welcome series for that. So all of that takes time and effort and energy to kind of put together. I think I have answered all the questions that have been kind of put up. Any other questions that are coming to mind? All right, I'm going to close with, I'm going to toss this. Elle and Amber don't know this. Elle, I'd love for you to just kind of share, like, high level, one of the favorite campaigns that you worked on in the nonprofit sector, and what you felt was successful about it.
Sure. Yes, thank you, Misty. I would I would say one of my favorite campaigns that I worked with recently was the Nature Conservancy. I think because climate change and climate advocacy is so important to me, I've been in the influencer marketing space for a long time. I've been in a lot of commercial, so moving over to more and being able to work with the brands that I really care about has been really, matters a lot to me. So the Nature Conservancy was a really fun campaign. They had a yearly photo contest. So photos of all around the world of different nature. And then we had influencers that were able to talk about the photos and kind of relate back to their own stories. And it was just really fun to work with them. It's also fun to work with different niches of influencers, because something we noticed that's kind of just a quirk with climate advocate influencers is that they write really long captions. Like, they're very passionate. So that part was really fun.
Great. And Amber, what was your favorite campaign that you worked on, and why do you think it was so successful for the organization?
Yeah, so my favorite was the IFAW campaign, so the International Fund for Animal Welfare. I know I've kind of alluded to it earlier as an example for a mission with pet, your missions around pets. And so it was really fun. We were able to work with not only the influencers, but their pets. And it was really focused on being disaster ready. So to be prepared in case of emergency, you had a to-go bag ready for your dog. So we felt that was very impactful, because I mean, everybody, has a pet or loves pets. So it was very impactful campaign to work on.
Great. All right. So I'm going to put one last call. Any other questions? Anything you're dying to know about influencer marketing or trends or that we're thinking about or keeping an eye on? All right. Well, anything that hasn't worked, that is a great question. I'm gonna answer this one a little bit. I would say there's two things that we have seen that can impact negatively a campaign. One, I know Amber's gonna know exactly what I'm gonna say, is when the client doesn't engage with the content. So we have seen where the client, under their own handle, is actively engaging in the content. So think about this. You have 15, for example, influencers. iFall is a perfect example in where they did it really, really well. Their social media manager was actively responding, commenting, thanking, participating in the conversation. And we've seen where some others have not done that, and it definitely impacts engagement rates. It impacts the kind of viralness of the content out there. And so I'm not saying that it didn't work, but the campaign where the client hadn't actively engaged, I think could have been a lot better had they done that. I think the second kind of word of caution is the follow through. So you got to remember that for most of the leads that you might generate out of this campaign, they come into your website, you might have converted them and captured their email. You really want to think through, how did they learn about you, and making sure that you continue that message and bridge from how they know about you from that campaign into your broader mission. And, you know, so the thing that I'm kind of referring to that may have not worked as well is leads coming in under one kind of message of and mission of the organization, and then immediately being dumped into kind of an active fundraising campaign. I think that might have been a little too soon. So you really want to think through the timing of that bridge from top of the funnel perspective lead, learning about you over here on this message, and then educating them so that they're really primed and ready to give when you ask for that. So I think those would be the two big lessons learned in terms of growth. And then I have another question here about how did you gauge success of a campaign, and are there specific messages? That's a great question. And at the beginning of every campaign, it's really, really important to understand what's the goals of these campaigns and to spell out those specific KPIs. Some of our campaigns are pure brand awareness campaigns. And so the KPIs that we're really looking for are how many people saw the content, how many people engaged with the content, what are the engagement rates, and the overall brand impressions. We've had other campaigns that are all the way down the funnel in actually trying to generate leads for conversion to donors. And so then the KPIs around the campaign and the types of influencers that you're hiring and the messaging are geared towards that goal. So the KPIs and success metrics can vary depending on what that ultimate goal is.